Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. Tonight, we journey into the vast, untamed wilderness of Alaska, a land where the silence is profound and the darkness stretches endlessly across snow-covered forests and towering mountain ranges. This is a place where the natural world reigns supreme, and the human presence is but a fleeting whisper against the backdrop of ancient trees and frozen rivers. But beneath the serene facade lies a realm fraught with mysteries and shadows that defy explanation. Chilling tales away from the city's relentless noise, recounted by those who was a dream in many ways that should not exist within the borders of wide windows that caught the autumn light. Our first story tonight comes from Jacob, a seasoned park ranger stationed in Denali National Park. But from the beginning, Jacob has spent years patrolling these wild expanses, guiding tourists, rescuing lost hikers, and witnessing the raw power of nature in its most unforgiving form. Yet, even with all his experience, what he encountered one cold autumn night still haunts him to this day. Jacob recalls the crisp air of early October, when the leaves had turned fiery red and gold, and the first frost was settling into the ground. It was late evening when he received a routine call to check on a remote campsite deep within the park's wilderness. A small group of hikers had set up camp near the edge of a dense spruce forest, and reports from satellite phones suggested all was well. But as Jacob approached the site, a creeping unease began to gnaw at him. The campsite was eerily silent. The fire pit was cold, the tents were empty, and there was no sign of the hikers. His radio crackled faintly with static, but no voices answered his repeated calls. Then, just as he was about to start a search, movement caught his eye between the trees. Emerging from the shadows was a figure, tall and gaunt, stepping with a peculiar grace that seemed unnatural. Jacob's first impression was that it was a man, but the way it moved was unlike anyone he had ever seen. The figure's limbs seemed elongated, and it moved with a speed that was almost impossible to track. What unsettled Jacob most was the low, guttural growl emanating from the figure, reverberating through the silent forest like a warning. Instinctively, Jacob reached for his flashlight, shining its beam directly at the figure. The light revealed a face pale as the snow, eyes deep-set and glinting with an otherworldly intelligence. Yet, there was something wrong. The mouth stretched into a grotesque, unnatural grin that didn't reach those cold eyes. The figure paused, then vanished as swiftly as it had appeared, dissolving into the darkness like smoke. Jacob's heart pounded as he scanned the area, but no tracks or signs of the figure remained. The campsite was still deserted, and the chilling growl echoed faintly again, as if carried on the wind itself. He hurried back to his truck, radioing for backup, but the transmission was filled with static and an occasional distorted voice, as if the forest itself was interfering. Over the following days, Jacob found himself haunted by what he saw. Reports surfaced of similar sightings in the area, hikers and hunters describing fleeting glimpses of shadowy humanoid forms moving silently through the trees, emitting strange sounds that chilled the soul. Some locals whispered of cryptic beings, ancient guardians of the wilderness that had been forgotten by time, now stirring as the human footprint pushed deeper into their domain. Jacob's experience has left him questioning everything he thought he knew about the wilderness he has dedicated his life to protecting. He has since increased patrols around the park's more isolated areas, but he avoids traveling alone after dusk. His final words on the matter are a warning to all who dare venture into these remote woods. Respect the silence, beware the shadows, and remember that some presences are not meant to be disturbed. This encounter marks only the beginning of our journey into Alaska's darkest mysteries, a prelude to the many inexplicable horrors that lurk beneath the veneer of snow and ice. Stay with us as we continue to unravel the secrets hidden deep within this unforgiving land. Welcome back to Untold Fears. As we continue our descent into the chilling wilderness of Alaska, tonight's tale follows Marissa, an avid solo hiker whose experience in the Alaska range took a turn from adventurous to nightmarish. Unlike Jacob, who faced a shadowy figure lurking near a campsite, Marissa's ordeal was wrapped in the blinding fury of a sudden whiteout storm and the sinister whispers that came with it. Marissa had been planning this expedition for months, a solitary trek deep into the heart of the Alaska range, seeking solitude and the raw beauty that only the remote wilderness can offer. Equipped with her backpack, GPS, and essential survival gear, She set off early in the morning, skies clear and spirits high. But as she progressed, the weather shifted with terrifying swiftness. The afternoon brought a sudden drop in temperature and an unexpected blizzard that swallowed the landscape whole. Visibility plummeted to near zero as thick snow swirled around her, blanketing the ground and muffling every sound except the howling wind. Trapped and disoriented, Marissa struggled to maintain her bearings, relying on instinct and fragmented memories of the trail. It was then that the whispers began. At first, they were barely audible, faint murmurs riding the wind like ghostly echoes. Marissa strained to catch the words, but they were indecipherable, a blend of syllables that seemed both foreign and ancient. The voices rippled through the storm, weaving among the gusts, sometimes close enough to sound like they were right beside her. As she stumbled through the blizzard, moving cautiously to avoid hidden crevasses and fallen branches, Marissa glimpsed shadowy figures darting between the snow-laden trees. Their movements were swift and erratic, always just beyond the edge of her vision. She tried calling out, but her voice was swallowed by the storm, and the figures vanished like smoke whenever she turned toward them. Hours passed in a terrifying haze, and the storm showed no sign of abating. Desperation forced Marissa to seek shelter beneath a cluster of ancient spruce trees. There, out of the swirling snow, she noticed something even more disturbing: strange symbols carved meticulously into the bark. The markings were unlike any indigenous design she had studied, jagged and spiraling, almost pulsating with an eerie energy beneath the pale light. Compelled by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Marissa traced the symbols with her gloved fingers. A sudden chill surged through her, as if the forest itself had exhaled a breath of cold air directly into her lungs. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, wrapping around her like tendrils of frost. She realized these were no ordinary carvings. They were warnings, or perhaps invitations, left by something that dwelled unseen within the woods. Marissa's attempts to leave were thwarted by the storm's relentless fury and the encroaching darkness. Each time she tried to retrace her steps, the forest seemed to shift, paths twisting into unfamiliar shapes. The shadowy figures reappeared intermittently, their presence both ominous and strangely watchful, never attacking but never allowing escape. In a desperate bid to find safety, she activated her GPS beacon, hoping for a rescue signal. But the device flickered erratically, its screen distorting with static and indecipherable symbols similar to those carved into the trees. Her radio crackled with broken transmissions, fragmented voices speaking in tongues she did not understand, punctuated by the same haunting whispers that filled the wind. Exhausted and terrified, Marissa prepared for a long night, wrapping herself in her emergency blanket beneath the trees. She recorded a brief message on her phone, her voice trembling. "If anyone finds this, the forest is alive. Something is watching. The symbols, the voices, they're real. I don't know if I'll make it out, but I have to keep moving. Beware the shadows. Don't trust the silence." When the storm finally subsided the following morning, Marissa was found by a search party several miles from her last known location. She was alive, but forever changed. Her eyes bore the weight of what she had witnessed, and she spoke little of the shadowy figures, only warning others to respect the wilderness and the ancient forces that linger within. Marissa's story quickly became a whispered legend among the hiking community, a cautionary tale about the unpredictable power of Alaska's wilds and the unseen entities that share its darkest corners. Her experience challenges our understanding of the natural world and reminds us that some mysteries are etched not only in the landscape, but in the very air that surrounds us. As we reflect on Marissa's harrowing ordeal, it becomes clear that Alaska's wilderness is far more than a backdrop of snow and trees. It is a living, breathing entity with secrets that resist human intrusion. Stay with us as we continue to explore these chilling encounters, uncovering the layers of fear and fascination that define the last frontier. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. As we continue our journey through Alaska's chilling wilderness, we now turn our attention to the treacherous waters near the Aleutian Islands. This next tale belongs to Elias, a seasoned commercial fisherman whose encounter with the unknown beneath the icy waves defies all explanation and reveals a terror lurking far from the dense forests and snow-covered peaks. Elias had been working the rough seas off the Aleutian chain for over a decade, familiar with the unpredictable weather and the dangers it posed. He knew the ocean's moods, respected its power, and trusted his instincts to keep his crew safe. But nothing in his years at sea prepared him for the night that would change everything. It began on a storm-racked evening when Elias and his crew were returning from a long day of fishing. The sky had darkened early, and the waves churned with an unnatural fury. As the boat battled the violent sea, Elias spotted something unusual, a pair of glowing eyes just beneath the surface, watching them intently. At first, he thought it was a whale or some large marine animal, but the eyes held an intelligence that was deeply unsettling. Suddenly, the water erupted as a massive creature surged toward the boat. The beast was unlike anything Elias had ever seen, a towering figure with scales that shimmered faintly in the storm's flashes of lightning, and tentacle-like appendages that lashed out with terrifying speed. Its eyes burned with a cold, malevolent glow, reflecting a sentience that transcended any known sea creature. Panic erupted among the crew as the creature rammed the hull, rocking the boat violently. Elias shouted orders, trying to maintain control amid the chaos. But the storm and the creature's relentless assault made it clear that survival was precarious at best. The beast's glowing eyes locked onto Elias, as if sizing him up, before it attempted to drag him into the icy depths. With every ounce of strength, Elias fought the pull of the water, clutching onto the railing as the creature's grip tightened. The freezing cold numbed his limbs, but sheer willpower kept him from slipping beneath the surface. His crew scrambled to fend off the creature with harpoons and makeshift weapons, but their efforts seemed futile against its otherworldly resilience. In a desperate move, Elias managed to ignite a flare, the sudden burst of light momentarily stunning the creature. It recoiled, releasing its grip, and disappeared into the darkness below. The storm began to subside, and the battered boat limped back to port, carrying a crew forever marked by the night's ordeal. Elias's account is filled with harrowing details: the creature's unnatural intelligence, the eerie glow of its eyes, and the overwhelming sense that it was not just an animal, but something older and far more sinister. His story spread quickly among fishermen along the Aleutian coast, many reporting strange sightings and inexplicable disturbances in the waters where Elias had encountered the beast. Despite the trauma, Elias returned to the sea, though with a wary respect for the unknown forces lurking beneath the waves. He warns others to heed the signs: the sudden stillness in the water, the unexplainable lights beneath the surface, and the eerie feeling of being watched from below. This story reminds us that Alaska's mysteries are not confined to its forests or mountains. The ocean itself holds secrets that challenge our understanding of nature and reality. As we continue to peel back the layers of this frozen land's darkest tales, we invite you to listen closely, for the sea's whispers may be more than just the wind over the waves. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the unknown. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. Tonight, we lift off from the turbulent seas and delve into the skies above Alaska's vast tundra, where an experienced bush pilot named Hannah faced a terrifying episode that defies all conventional explanation. Hannah's story takes us into a world where time seems to fracture and the very fabric of reality bends, a realm where the familiar becomes alien and the past and present collide in a frozen, forsaken place. Hannah had been flying for years, delivering supplies to remote villages scattered across Alaska's sprawling wilderness. Her knowledge of the terrain and weather patterns made her a trusted figure among the isolated communities she served. On what began as a routine flight over an uncharted stretch of tundra, everything changed. Shortly after takeoff, Hannah's instruments began to malfunction. The altimeter spun wildly, the compass wavered, and her radio transmissions became distorted and erratic. The vast landscape beneath her seemed to shift unnaturally. Hills flattened, rivers reversed course, and familiar landmarks appeared twisted, as if viewed through a fractured mirror. Perplexed but determined, Hannah attempted to navigate toward the nearest village, relying on her instincts and visual cues. But the terrain refused to obey logic. The sky above darkened prematurely, casting a surreal twilight over the landscape as snowflakes began to fall despite the forecast predicting clear skies. Suddenly, Hannah's radio burst to life with fragmented voices speaking in unknown languages and distorted tones, overlapping with static and eerie whispers. Her attempts to respond were met with silence or replies that made no sense. The sense of isolation deepened as the boundaries between reality and illusion blurred. Forced to make an emergency landing, Hannah scanned the ground for a suitable clearing. She spotted an abandoned settlement nestled among frozen trees, a cluster of dilapidated cabins and rusted vehicles, all eerily preserved under a thin layer of ice and snow. The place felt frozen in time, untouched by the years that had surely passed. Upon landing, Hannah stepped out into the biting cold and was struck by the oppressive silence. No footprints marred the snow, no signs of life stirred the air. As she explored the settlement, she found remnants of daily life, faded photographs, broken furniture, and scattered belongings, but no clues as to why the place had been abandoned or when. Her camera revealed something even more unsettling. In the reflections of broken windows and puddles of melted ice, fleeting images flickered, shadowy figures moving just beyond her sight, faces glimpsed in peripheral vision, moments that vanished when directly observed. Hannah's log entries during this time record a growing sense of disorientation and dread. She described the settlement as existing out of time, a liminal space caught between past and present, where the normal flow of time seemed suspended. The distorted radio signals, shifting landscape, and inexplicable phenomena suggested she had stumbled into a temporal anomaly. As night fell, the temperature plummeted, and the settlement seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. Hannah reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty halls, whispers calling her name, and shadows stretching longer than they should. Her final transmission spoke of a desperate need to escape before she too became trapped in this frozen limbo. With great effort, Hannah managed to restart her plane and take off, but the flight back was fraught with continued instrument failure and further glimpses of the distorted landscape below. When she finally landed safely in a nearby town, she was visibly shaken, her accounts met with skepticism but also unease. Hannah's experience has since become a topic of discussion among pilots and researchers who study anomalies in Alaska's vast wilderness. The idea of places caught in temporal loops or pockets of altered reality challenges our understanding of space and time, suggesting that the frontier holds secrets beyond mere geography. Her story is a stark reminder that Alaska's emptiness is not always empty, that sometimes the land itself can trap those who venture too close to its hidden fractures. As we continue to explore the unknown in this frozen land, we invite you to keep your eyes and ears open, for the air above and the ground below may hold more than just natural wonders. Stay with us as we uncover the next layer of Alaska's terrifying mysteries. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. As we continue to unravel the dark and mysterious fabric of Alaska's vast wilderness, tonight's story takes us onto the treacherous frozen highways that thread across this unforgiving land. Our focus shifts to Nolan, an experienced ice road trucker whose routine journey turned into a nightmare when he crossed paths with forces that blurred the line between the living and the spectral, the present and the ancient. Nolan had spent years hauling essential supplies across the ice roads, those precarious arteries of commerce that appear only in the heart of winter when frozen rivers and lakes become temporary highways. His work was grueling and dangerous, but it was familiar, predictable, until one frigid night, when the familiar landscape became something altogether else. Driving a heavy convoy deep into the Yukon Territory, Nolan's headlights sliced through the endless dark, illuminating the ice cracked beneath his wheels and the vast shadows that danced just beyond the reach of his beams. Suddenly, emerging from the swirling snow came figures unlike any he had ever seen, draped in archaic clothing, their faces obscured by hoods and frostbitten beards. They moved silently yet with purpose, blocking the path ahead. These shadowy entities carried an air of authority and menace, their presence chilling Nolan more than the sub-zero temperatures. They spoke in voices that seemed to echo from the depths of time, warning of an ancient curse tied to the very land beneath the ice. A curse born from forgotten conflicts and restless spirits bound to the frozen earth. Nolan's radio crackled with static as he tried to communicate with his convoy and dispatch, But the voices of the spectral figures overrode all transmissions, weaving cryptic warnings and fragmented phrases that chilled his soul. The convoy's engines sputtered as if drained by an unseen force, and the ice beneath trembled faintly, a subtle vibration that grew stronger with each passing moment. With his heart pounding, Nolan realized that these were not mere apparitions, but guardians of a dark legacy. Entities tasked with protecting secrets buried beneath the frozen landscape. The curse they spoke of was not just superstition. It seemed woven into the very fabric of the land, a force capable of twisting reality and punishing those who dared trespass without respect. What followed was a desperate escape through blizzards that rose without warning, veiling the road in white and forcing the convoy to slow to a crawl. Abandoned villages appeared along the route, silent, snow-covered remnants of lives interrupted, their empty windows staring like hollow eyes. Nolan's mind raced, trying to decipher whether these were visions conjured by fear or glimpses of a reality folded over his own. As the convoy pushed forward, the figures reappeared intermittently, sometimes standing silently on the roadside, other times vanishing into the swirling snow before Nolan could react. Their warnings echoed in his ears, a persistent reminder that the land beneath the ice was not neutral ground, but a battleground of ancient spirits and forgotten oaths. Nolan's account ends with a harrowing description of a narrow escape, navigating treacherous ice floes and blinding snowstorms until the cursed stretch of road was behind him. He returned with a profound sense of unease, haunted by the knowledge that the ice roads are more than just frozen paths. They are thresholds between worlds, patrolled by entities beyond human understanding. His story spread quickly among the trucking community, who shared tales of strange figures and inexplicable phenomena encountered during their winter hauls. Some dismissed these as hallucinations born of exhaustion and isolation, but others spoke with reverence and fear, acknowledging that the frontier still holds power and secrets that resist modern intrusion. Nolan's experience stands as a stark warning to anyone who travels Alaska's ice roads. Respect the land's ancient history, heed the silent guardians, and beware the curse that lies beneath the frozen surface. The ice may seem solid, but beneath it, forces stir that refuse to be forgotten. As we move forward in our exploration of Alaska's darkest mysteries, remember that every journey through this vast wilderness carries risks beyond the physical. The spirits of the land watch and wait, their stories etched into the ice and snow. Stay with us as we continue to uncover these chilling encounters on Untold Fears. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. Tonight, we journey deeper into Alaska's frozen expanse, shifting our focus from the icy roads to the colossal glaciers that carve the landscape. Our next story centers on Leah, a dedicated glaciologist whose research near Mount Hunter unveiled something far more ancient and sinister than the receding ice she had come to study. Leah had long been fascinated by the glaciers that dominate Alaska's rugged terrain. She and her team had traveled to the slopes of Mount Hunter to study the rapid retreat of ice, searching for clues about climate change and its impact on the region. What began as a scientific expedition quickly transformed into a harrowing encounter with forces buried beneath the ice for millennia. During their initial surveys, Leah's team discovered strange markings etched into the glacier's exposed rock faces, intricate symbols that seemed out of place, both ancient and deliberately carved. Intrigued, they followed the lead to a series of subterranean tunnels revealed by the melting ice. The tunnels delved deep beneath the glacier, their walls lined with the same cryptic carvings, glowing faintly under the beam of their headlamps. As they ventured further, Leah's team uncovered remnants of a lost civilization, artifacts, tools, and skeletal remains hinting at a people who had once thrived in this harsh environment. But the most unsettling discovery was the nature of the warnings scrawled on the walls, ominous messages in a language no one could decipher, cautioning against awakening the sleeping shadow lying beneath the glacier. The atmosphere grew oppressive as the team pressed onward. Equipment began malfunctioning. GPS devices lost signal, radios emitted static filled with unintelligible voices, and their cameras captured fleeting shadows moving just beyond the light. Some team members reported chilling sensations, as if unseen eyes were watching from the darkness. Tensions rose when one member of the team vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a faint scream etched in the echoes of the tunnels. Panic set in as the remaining researchers struggled to maintain composure, debating whether to continue or turn back. Leah, driven by a mix of scientific curiosity and dread, insisted on pushing forward to uncover the truth. Deeper in the labyrinth, they encountered what could only be described as a dormant entity, a presence so vast and ancient that it seemed to warp the very air around it. The warnings on the walls suddenly made sense. This was the Sleeping Shadow, a force bound beneath the glacier, its power contained only by the ice itself. As the entity stirred, the glacier trembled. The team experienced unexplainable phenomena. Walls shifted, passages seemed to close and reopen, and the air filled with whispers that clawed at their sanity. Leah's journal entries from this descent reveal a growing terror, a realization that their intrusion might unleash an ancient evil upon the world. In a desperate retreat, the team fled the tunnels, racing against the glacier's destabilizing ice and the encroaching darkness. Though they escaped with their lives, the experience left scars that would haunt them forever. Leah's research was shelved, warnings issued to keep others away, and the site remained off-limits to all but the most determined. Leah's story is a stark reminder that beneath the icy surface of Alaska lie secrets far older and darker than the glaciers themselves. The land harbors ancient forces, dormant and dangerous, waiting for the day when melting ice might release them once more. As we continue our journey through Alaska's most disturbing mysteries, remember that the frozen wilderness holds more than just beauty and solitude. It is a place where the past never truly dies, and some shadows refuse to remain buried. Stay with us as we delve further into these chilling encounters on Untold Fears. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. Tonight, we venture into the remote Yukon Flats, where isolation and endless winter create a landscape both beautiful and unforgiving. Our next story comes from Dimitri, a veteran trapper whose experience reveals the lurking dangers that can stalk even the most hardened souls in Alaska's wilderness. Dimitri had spent years living off the land, setting traps and hunting to survive the brutal winters. His knowledge of the forest was extensive, his instincts sharp. But one winter, a series of unsettling events shattered his sense of security and introduced him to a terror beyond the natural world. It began with his traps being repeatedly sabotaged. No matter how carefully Dimitri set them, snares were found cut or unset, bait missing, as if something was deliberately thwarting his efforts. At first, he attributed it to wildlife, cunning foxes or bears, but the pattern was too precise, too persistent. Then came the nights filled with a haunting howl that echoed through the vast expanse of the Yukon Flats. The sound was unlike any animal Dimitri had encountered, low, guttural, and filled with a malevolent intelligence. It reverberated through the trees, unsettling even the most stoic of hunters. One frigid night, Dimitri encountered the source of the terror. Emerging from the shadows was an enormous, shadowy creature, its form towering and indistinct, but its glowing red eyes unmistakable in the darkness. The creature moved with a predatory grace, its presence overwhelming the quiet forest. Dimitri's sled dogs, his trusted companions, vanished without a trace that night. Their disappearance left him isolated, vulnerable in the vast wilderness. The creature's howl returned, louder and more menacing, as if claiming the forest as its own domain. Terrified but resolute, Dimitri documented his experiences in a journal, detailing the creature's behavior and his own dwindling hope for survival. He described the forest as alive with unseen eyes, the darkness pressing in like a living thing. Each night, the creature's presence grew more tangible, a shadow that stalked his every move. As the winter dragged on, Dimitri's entries grew increasingly desperate. He spoke of strange footprints, larger than any known animal, and of a coldness that seemed unnatural, a chill that seeped into his bones beyond the biting air. His final notes hinted at a plan to leave the area once the thaw arrived, but the creature's howl lingered, an unrelenting reminder of the forest's dominion. Dimitri's story is a stark testament to the dangers hidden within Alaska's wilderness, where isolation can expose even the strongest to forces beyond comprehension. His encounter with the shadowy beast serves as a warning. In these remote lands, some predators are not of this world, and the forest silence can conceal horrors that defy explanation. As we continue our exploration of Alaska's darkest mysteries, Dimitri's tale reminds us that the wilderness is not always the refuge we seek. Sometimes, it is a hunting ground for entities older and more terrifying than we dare imagine. Stay with us as we uncover more unsettling stories from the heart of the last frontier on Untold Fears. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. As our journey through Alaska's darkest and most mysterious frontiers continues, tonight we descend onto the frozen surface of Lake Iliamna, where veteran ice fisher Selena encountered something ancient, haunting, and utterly inexplicable beneath the ice. Selena had spent years braving the brutal Alaskan winters, drilling holes through thick ice and patiently waiting for the elusive fish that sustain local communities. Lake Iliamna, with its vast expanse and frigid depths, was a familiar haunt, isolated, silent, and seemingly timeless. But beneath its frozen surface, Selena discovered a presence that defied natural explanation. One bitter cold morning, as Selena was setting up her usual fishing spots, she began to hear something unusual, faint, melodic singing drifting up from beneath the ice. The voices were ethereal, haunting, and unmistakably humanoid, weaving through the stillness like a forgotten lullaby carried on the wind. Intrigued and unnerved, Selena drilled multiple holes in a strange, deliberate pattern, hoping to trace the source of the voices. Peering into the dark water beneath, she caught fleeting glimpses of shapes, shadowy, humanoid forms moving gracefully in the depths. They were unlike any fish or creature she had seen before, their movements fluid and eerily synchronized with the haunting melodies that filled the cold air. The water seemed alive with something ancient, watching and waiting. As the singing grew louder, Selena felt an overwhelming pull, a connection that transcended fear and curiosity. She sensed that these beings were guardians of the lake, perhaps remnants of an ancient pact between the land and its waters. Yet their presence was not benign. It carried a warning, a message hidden within the beauty of the song. Suddenly, the ice beneath her cracked sharply, a violent reminder of the lake's unforgiving nature. Selena scrambled to safety as the hole she had drilled opened wider, the water churning beneath her feet as if stirred by an unseen force. The humanoid shapes vanished as quickly as they had appeared, but the echo of their song lingered, a haunting refrain etched into her memory. Shaken but alive, Selena recounted her experience to local elders, who spoke of legends passed down through generations, tales of water spirits and ancient guardians who dwell beneath the ice, protecting the lake and its secrets. They warned her that the singing was both a call and a caution, a reminder that the lake's depths were sacred and not to be disturbed lightly. Selena's story spread quietly among ice fishers and villagers, many of whom have reported similar experiences, strange melodies, fleeting shadows beneath the ice, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. These encounters hint at a hidden world beneath the frozen surface, alive with entities that defy human understanding. Her tale serves as a chilling reminder that Alaska's wilderness is layered with mysteries, where ancient forces linger in places we think we know. Beneath the ice of Lake Iliamna, the past and present intertwine, and the line between natural and supernatural blurs. As we continue to explore these unsettling truths from Alaska's remote frontiers, remember that some songs are meant to remain unheard, and some waters are better left untouched. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the unknown on Untold Fears. Good evening, and welcome back to Untold Fears. Tonight, we conclude this chapter of our journey through Alaska's most chilling and perplexing mysteries with the story of Selena, whose haunting encounter beneath the ice of Lake Iliamna revealed the presence of ancient, otherworldly guardians. But as one mystery fades, another emerges from the heart of the Iditarod race, where Pavel Petrov's experience shattered his understanding of reality and the boundary between worlds. Pavel, an endurance racer with years of experience navigating Alaska's brutal trails, had signed up for the Iditarod with the determination and grit required to conquer the grueling course. Yet during one particularly fierce leg of the race, something inexplicable happened. an encounter that would haunt him long after the finish line. As the blizzard raged, Pavel's sled team approached a checkpoint that should have been bustling with support crews and fellow racers. Yet the area was eerily silent and strangely distorted. The checkpoint appeared phantom-like, its structures faded, the flags hanging limp as if caught between dimensions. Paul's radio crackled with static punctuated by whispers, voices not belonging to any living person. Confused but pressing on, Pavel soon found himself crossing through a series of alternate realities layered over the familiar terrain. The snow beneath his sled seemed to shimmer, and the landscape twisted in impossible ways, trees bending at unnatural angles, shadows moving just beyond his line of sight. Time itself felt fractured. His watch spun erratically, minutes stretching into hours and collapsing back again. At one point, Pavel glimpsed other racers who appeared translucent or distorted, their faces blank or contorted in silent screams. These phantom competitors moved in eerie synchronization, as if trapped in a loop where the race never truly ended. The air was thick with a palpable anxiety, a liminal space where the living and the spectral converged. Desperate to escape this nightmarish realm, Pavel pushed his team harder, navigating treacherous ice and hidden crevices. But the more he fought to return to the known world, the more the alternate reality pulled him in, whispering promises of eternal competition and endless pursuit. The line between the race and something far darker blurred, threatening to consume him. Finally, with immense effort and a moment of clarity, Pavel broke free from the phantom checkpoints and the distorted landscape. He emerged back onto the familiar trail, battered and shaken, but alive. His experience left him with a profound knowledge of a hidden layer to the Iditarod, an alternate race played out in shadows, accessible only to those who glimpse beyond the veil. Pavel's choice to return to reality was not without consequence. He carries the burden of knowing what lies beyond, haunted by spectral racers and the knowledge that the boundary between life and something else is thinner than anyone realizes. His story is a chilling reminder that even the most familiar challenges can hide otherworldly dangers beneath their surface. This journey through Alaska's darkest and most disturbing stories has taken us from the shadowed forests of Denali to the frozen depths of Lake Iliamna, from cursed ice roads to time-warped settlements and spectral races. Each tale reveals a land alive with mysteries that defy explanation and dangers that lurk just beyond the edge of perception. As we close tonight's chapter, remember that Alaska's wilderness is not just a place of stunning beauty and relentless cold. It is a realm where the past and present collide, where unseen forces watch and wait, and where the thin veil between worlds can be torn by the unwary. Thank you for joining us on Untold Fears. Stay vigilant, and until next time, beware the shadows that dwell in the last frontier.